Hello, everyone. I'm Keith DeStone, and I'm here with Greg Nagy and Sarah and Janet and Aylin for the latest installment in the v14 series of office hours for HeroesX. I say latest because, well, you've probably heard this story before, but this is for hour 24 of the 14th iteration of HeroesX. So we're coming to the close of a cycle, let's say. The question that Greg posed for hour 24 is, in what I wrote for hour 24 of the book H24H, I used a variety of passages taken from ancient Greek literature for the purpose of illustrating the idea of the hero as savior. But I could have chosen 3 or 4 times as many relevant passages. I would ask you now to choose from the source book a passage of your own, some passage that I did not choose for hour 24. How does your passage illuminate the idea of the hero, male or female, as a savior? And what kind of savior is the hero you have chosen? Very open-ended.
Yes.
But there are lots of, well, as you said, lots of passages to choose from.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And one participant chose a passage from the Libation Bearers, and he chooses Orestes, the passage.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the passage about Orestes. And the passage starts with almost felon object of care in your father's house. It's hope of the seed of a savior.
Very good. Very good. Well, it's certainly true that Orestes, I heard you right, Orestes is a savior hero if you look at him as a cult hero. And I'm thinking especially of a story told by Herodotus where the people of Sparta are engaged in a war with the people of Tegea in Arcadia, and it's not going well for them. And then there's some oracular pronouncement that if they could just acquire the body of Orestes, then things would go better for them. And as we've noticed so many times in so many contexts, the hero's body, the hero's dead body, is viewed as a talisman of not just fertility, but prosperity and even good luck for the community in which the body is anchored. And so in this anecdote reported by Herodotus, the so-called father of history, the Spartans contrive to kidnap the body of Orestes, which was having its quote-unquote final resting place in Tegea in Arcadia. And I won't go into the details of the subterfuge that goes into this plot to kidnap the body. But in the end, the Spartans succeed. They get the body of Orestes. And what do you know? Their military fortunes improve against their bitter enemies, the people of Tegea in Arcadia. So there's an instance where Orestes is a savior for the people of Sparta, for the military machine of Sparta. I'm using that as an example because I suspect that Aeschylus was perfectly aware of the status of Orestes, and for that matter of all these heroes, as cult heroes, where there was this particular salvific function attached to these figures as cult heroes. And I know I'll never have a chance to say this again in a context like this, but if we fast forward into not just late antiquity, but post-late antiquity, I'm fascinated with the fact that the maritime empire of Venice, which was a seafaring empire, contrived to kidnap the body of Saint Mark, who was patron saint of the city of Alexandria. And there is a story that is attached to how the body of Saint Mark, which was understood to be located at its, again, quote unquote, final resting place in Alexandria, was stolen by agents of the Venetian Empire, who took the body to Venice. And the rest is history. St. Mark's church, I won't call it a cathedral because it's so Eastern in its appearance. St. Mark's is called St. Mark's because Venice managed to acquire the body of the patron saint of Alexandria. So I'm saying that this kind of rivalry over the possession of the body of a hero was very much in circulation. And that's why I'm very sympathetic to our participants choosing Orestes. I would never have thought of it, but there it is. The wording indicates that he is salvific. And again, I would say it's thanks to Aeschylus's knowledge of, shall we say, other dimensions of Orestes, other than what are obvious in the three dramas that we read.
Another participant mentioned Penelope as a savior.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And we have all sorts of indications that Penelope was worshipped as a cult hero. My favorite bits and pieces come from that renowned traveler Pausanias, who lived in the 2nd century of our era. The way Pausanias talks about stories concerning Penelope and how she was courted by Odysseus, and how there was even this wedding chariot that went from place to place, and that was, shall we say, traced by worshippers, or I'm guessing worshippers of Penelope. And Pausanias actually retraces the trajectory of the wedding chariot of Penelope, starting from, of all places, Sparta, and moving north into Arcadian territory. All sorts of bits and pieces, as I say. I can't really prove it, but I think it's a very good guess. And again, I'm guessing on the basis of the fragmentary evidence we have for the hero cult of Penelope, not necessarily just on the basis of internal evidence within the Odyssey.
Another participant has quoted a large passage from Herodotus, and it's the story of Kleobis and Biton. And they're talking about how through their death, the rituals that which are timely are able to continue, and the mother as the priestess to keep her honor, and that then presumably would have continued as a ritual practice by the followers of the cult in that area.
I would agree wholeheartedly, and I would say that this choice is even more intuitively appealing on the basis of just the things we read. In the other cases, I had to make a stretch and look for evidence outside of what we've actually read, even though there are these hints that our participants picked up on. But in the case of Kleobis and Biton, I think it's pretty explicit that they were considered cult heroes by the people of Argos. So a lovely choice. I applaud that choice.
Well, we only have one question this time. So it seems that we have, how does Hippolytus put it? Well, he's come full circle, but for us it's a circle. For Hippolytus it was a straight line. So we've been here before, and I suspect that we'll be here again next semester.
I so look forward to it. And I'm so glad you mentioned Hippolytus, because he is such a congenial cult hero as well as tragic hero. It's one of those situations where it all comes together in our readings. And I know he's a favorite of yours, Keith, and I don't blame you. And he was certainly a favorite of Phaedra, who I should say was also a cult hero. And that is made crystal clear, I think, by our traveler Pausanias, who comes to the rescue here, because I think if we had only Euripides, I couldn't be so sure of what I'm saying. But let's cheer for Phaedra as well. That lovelorn couple, Hippolytus and Phaedra, deserve to be, I think, mentioned together as we come full circle in our explorations of not just heroes as literary figures of the song culture, but also figures who were actively worshipped by local populations.
Well, friends, thank you for all these wonderful conversations. And I look
thank
forward
you.
to more.
I can hardly wait.